Let's take a look. The college football playoff top 25 brought to you by AT&T 5G. How about Eli Drinkwitz getting Missouri in the mix? That's fairly significant because both Florida and Alabama have victories against Missouri. So there's another data point for those two SEC teams that we're going to see at the top. Colorado in the rankings for the first time since 2016. Oklahoma State barely hanging on. We mentioned Tulsa and the Golden Hurricanes sticking in there at 24. The Raging Cajuns of Louisiana, they will play Coastal Carolina in the Sun Belt Championship game, and they have a victory against Iowa State, the team Herbie was talking about. They're at 19. Texas re-enters the fray, and Iowa keeps moving up at number 16. Let's look at 11 through 15 now. USC at 15 at 4-0. Oklahoma at 11. Coastal Carolina moves up 5 spots. I thought they might go a little higher as they try to position themselves to be on the doorstep as the highest-ranked Group of 5 champion should Cincinnati stumble against Tulsa in that American Championship game. So that is 15 through 11. So let's work our way now into the top 10. Miami sitting there behind De'Aaron King. The Hurricanes have quietly, they only lost to Clemson, David. They've had a really strong season.
Great season. You think about defensively coming along too, getting better. Dealing with COVID just like everybody else. A lot of bodies out there, but dominating fashion. Another game this week, dominating.
Just ahead of Miami, they were also 10 last week, is Georgia. Georgia slips back 1 spot. The Bulldogs trying to finish out their season. Their 2 losses coming at the hands of Alabama and Florida. Just ahead of the Bulldogs now at number 8 is Cincinnati. Cincinnati slips a spot. They lost a game against Temple. They've lost the game against the first regular season game against Tulsa coming up. Jesse, what's your reaction to that?
Been a bad week for Cincinnati, guys. First off, Texas A&M beat Auburn, and we knew that Texas A&M was a giant domino that Cincinnati needed to fall. Beyond that, you mentioned it, their game against Tulsa gets canceled. UCF and SMU not ranked in the top 25, so that does not help their resume out in any stretch. And beyond all that, they've now got to worry about Iowa State and Oklahoma and the winner of that Big 12 title game now. It wasn't just worrying about what was happening in front of them, but what potentially was happening now before them. And you top that all off with them slipping 1 spot. Just not a good week for the Bearcats and their playoff chances.
Look out now. Here, Iowa State, but I haven't seen an Iowa State logo yet. They were down at 9 last week.
I think you might be about to see that if I had to guess. And there it is. Iowa State is up 2 spots to number 7. Joey, what do you think about the Cyclones making that kind of jump?
I like the move, and I agree with Jesse. It's unfortunate for Cincinnati in these past 3 weeks that their games have been canceled. They haven't had a chance to get in front of the committee again. Iowa State sitting at number 7, facing an Oklahoma team that still isn't in the top 10. I don't know how much that'll matter moving forward. I guess they get into that classification of teams that are going to need some movement up above them to actually matter for their chances to get into the top 4.
You know, I think this is close, as good as Iowa State is. I think this is pretty much the ceiling for them, I would think. I mean, obviously a lot depends on what happens with Louisiana, but they've got a better record. They beat them by 17 points, and they're ranked well behind them. I think Iowa State's a better team right now, but that is a data point on there. David, as you look at 7 through 25, what's your reaction to it?
Well, first of all, I'd like to apologize to the committee for all of us for BYU because they were right, by the way, the last several weeks when we were ranking BYU and we were looking at it, we were going, they should have been higher. But interesting, Coastal Carolina slides, right into that spot. But I think pointing to Iowa State, obviously, as a team maybe that, how much does that Oklahoma win if they beat Oklahoma this week? How much does that win where they could possibly move up? But I think the next 6 are firmly entrenched. So right now, what we're seeing right now is Coastal Carolina and Cincinnati. If Cincinnati, by the way, doesn't get another game because they're still dealing with this, can Coastal Carolina creep up and steal their spot?
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.